Chapter 804. Final Day 1. The skill of the Rank 1 Monster Cryptid, Omens of Corruption. When the skill was used on a target, one of their skills would become corrupted and permanent so that it could never be removed at any point in the future. No matter how much money you spent at the temple, the associated essence would be impossible to erase. Put it simply, the target would be forced to treat whichever skill was corrupted as a graduation essence. Please, not Storm Gush. I sent up a silent plea, hoping that the one essence I was planning to upgrade didn't get picked. However, even if I got my wish, that didn't mean I could relax. After all, very rarely, Omens of Corruption could do something interesting. I think it was around a 10% chance. 1 time out of 10, when a skill was affected by Omens of Corruption, the ability of the targeted essence would be changed at random. Stats to stats, passives to passives, and actives to actives, one of those three would change, though there was a chance it could upgrade the essence instead. That wasn't much of a comfort either. My rank 5 skill Jauntization changing to the rank 3 skill form of the giant wouldn't really do me much good at the moment. I would need to get rid of all my equipment since form of the giant didn't work with Union. Vwong. Just then, a dark red ray of light began to flow out of my body, interrupting my spiraling thoughts. The corruption had begun. I, unfortunately, had no way of stopping it. All I could do was pray. Please, please, please. Soon enough, one of the threads connected to my body began to change color from red to black. My eyes darted down the line to see where it connected. Thankfully, it wasn't Storm Gush, and it wasn't the combination monster that held Jauntization either. The essence of Bayan is corrupted. The corrupted essence cannot be used for 180 days and can never be removed even after the time is up. The essence of Bayan wasn't so bad. I had planned on keeping Transcendence forever, and considering its effect, it wouldn't restrict me too much to have it sealed during this battle. However, the problem was, I'm really screwed, aren't I? The moment the black dyeing the thread reached the Bayan, the monster began to roar, screaming like its internal organs were being twisted. Hyok. There was only one reason for that effect to appear. The abyss calls for you. The essence of Bayan was corrupted. Deeper than expected. I was hit by the 10%. The effect of passive skill Transcendence is permanently altered. Transcendence no longer improves the effects of all passive skills. The effect of active skill Transcendence is permanently altered. Now, when Transcendence is used, I'd hit upon the 10%. However, I had no idea what had changed. Was it a tat, a passive, an active? No, maybe, not just one, but 2 or more changed at once. That was just the type of skill Omens of Corruption was. I couldn't predict what changed. I had tried using the skill to empower a fully built, endgame character once, but the risk was so great and there were too many variables at play, so I gave up trying to use that route shortly after. I probably shouldn't be thinking about this at the moment, anyway. I decided to take my time checking what had changed about Transcendence later. Yandel. The instant after I came back to my senses, I was raising my shield to block the attack heading my way. Defense successful. Wall of Aegis absorbed all damage. There was no denying it. Although I'd forgotten for a moment after being pulled into the world of my mind, I wasn't in all too that good of condition. You were poisoned, highest rank. My body was so full of poison that I could even smell the stench of my organs deteriorating. Sven Perev has cast Prayer of Protection. 30% of the damage taken by the target is healed through divine power. Sniktura has cast Lethal Poison. Your health is below 20%. The effect of poison is increased by 8x. Even though I was being kept up by all sorts of heals and buffs, I couldn't stop my body from careening toward death. Erwin Fornaci di Turgia is casting Concentrated Fire. Nevertheless, time was still flowing forward. But how many minutes have passed? Well, I had no idea. I was pretty sure it'd been over 10 minutes since Erwin began casting concentrated fire, at least. At that moment, Raven shouted from behind me, "Mr. Yandel, I understand what you're trying to do, but isn't this enough? Everyone's at their limit." I was honestly in the same boat, and I could hear what she left unsaid too. "Even so, not yet. If we made one mistake, we'd never be able to fix it." "What? No. At this rate, you'll die." "We're not in the best shape either, but I'm fine." Even so, I had to endure. Some more time passed since Raven's attempted final call. I wasn't completely sure how long, but nothing much changed as the fight continued on the same way. In other words, I was still getting beat over the head and racing toward my death. Boom. Erwin Fornaci di Tergia is casting concentrated fire. Likewise, Erwin continued to concentrate. However, there was one thing that changed, and that was Bjorn. Let's stop now. It was no longer just Raven. Other members began to join her calls to fire the shot. Even Erwin. Mister, isn't this enough? Was I in that bad of a condition? I couldn't even feel that much pain, though my body did feel a little heavy. Damn it. If you're going to give the order, either way, then get on with it. I can't just stand back and watch you suffer like this. Me neither. Even the frontline members whom I had sent to the back went against my order and joined me at the front. Not that they lasted long, of course. Einar Fenelon has cast Curl Up. Malend Kylan has cast Will of Iron Wall. I'd say they were around for 2 minutes. Give or take. That said, I had no plans on reprimanding them or telling them they weren't of any help. Those 2 minutes actually did me a lot of good. Bah'u'llah. Because when I saw Kylan on the ground, unconscious, and Einar standing her ground while gripping her arm that was twisted the wrong way, I made my decision. All right, that's it. We couldn't hold on for longer. More precisely, even though we technically could, I'd have to risk someone dying. With that calculation made, I finally said the words I had been holding in. "Erwin, fire." Perhaps it was the call she had been waiting for. Erwin didn't even ask for confirmation. She just immediately let go of her concentrated state and cast her skill. I had no idea how long she had been charging her shot, but honestly, the effect that happened when she fired her arrow wasn't particularly spectacular. Though, it wasn't really fair to say that. After all we could see of it was the blinding light that filled the room. Even the sound of the impact was beyond our senses. Regardless, over my skin told me just how powerful the tremor that shot through the air and that attack truly was. You have taken damage from an ally in a companion state. Light of Trust protects character from the damage. I couldn't help but feel a chill down my spine. If it weren't for the effect of No. 12. Light of Trust, this ragged body of mine probably wouldn't have survived. Vwong. However, standing around awestruck by the destructiveness of that shot wasn't an option. There was only one thing I needed to know, and that was if that arrow had enough damage to kill Sniktura in one shot. It didn't take me long to learn the outcome. The headache-inducing ringing in my ears finally quieted, and my vision returned, allowing me to take in our surroundings. The machines were buzzing with sparks, and the water in the air was sizzling off into steam, and beyond all the environmental carnage was Sniktura collapsed on the ground with a huge hole in its neck. Now armed with all the information my eyes could perceive, I had a thought. No, to be precise, I recalled a conversion I shared not long ago. Bill Ironlad. If my memory serves me right, he did change his name before. I'm certain that it was some common name. Quote, "My gut feelings never played out favorably for me. Damn it." And so, I watched as the collapsed Sniktura with the giant hole in its neck didn't begin to turn into rays of light but instead began to thrash its tail. Sniktura's health is below 10%. Flash before death has activated. We failed in our gamble. Snictura's second passive after 10,000 poison body, flash before death, automatically activated after it fell below 10% health, and its effects were very simple. All stats of Snictura are temporarily doubled. Snictura temporarily gains immunity to all status effects. Snictura temporarily gains immunity to all damage types. It became absurdly strong, though there were a few drawbacks. Snictura's movement is temporarily restricted. It couldn't do anything for 1 minute after its skill abdicated. Seriously, though, compared to those absurd bonuses, I couldn't even call that a drawback. The other one was much nicer. While Flash Before Death is active, Snictura's health quickly decreases. Even if we let it be in that state, it would lose HP. In other words, we didn't have to worry about getting around its invulnerability state to deal any damage. It would die if given enough time. Plus, Flash Before Death was impossible to cancel before the battle ended. To put it simply, either it had to die, or we all had to die. I think it took around 5 minutes for it to lose 10% of its health. 5 minutes, a length of time that was both somehow short yet excruciatingly long. However, pulling together all the experience I had gained fighting Snictura in the game from my memories, I came to a quick conclusion. We might just win a physical brawl if all its skills were sealed. In its current infinite MP state, though, 1 minute, a single minute was all it needed to tear us to shreds. Bah dump. No matter how hard I tried to look for a silver lining, I could only see a hopeless future. There was only one way left. I turned away from Snictura and banged against the closed entrance with my fist. Arda, enough. Open the door now. If we die, you know the thing won't die either. But no one answered. Arda, no matter how much I shouted, we never got an answer back. I knew that the speaker had been destroyed in the chaos, but could they also not see what was going on here? Damn it, mister. What are you doing, Yandel? It's not moving right now. We need to, quickly. My allies spoke to me, not understanding what I was doing, but I couldn't hear any of what they were saying. For the first time in a very long while, I felt despair. I always tried to keep a cool head and grasp at any possibility of living, however slim, but there was nothing we could do now. Finally turning to face them, I admitted, it's over. I'm sorry, everyone. My miscalculation put all of you to death. Wait, what are you saying? That thing will start moving soon, and that'll be the end of us, I explained. I'm sorry. I truly apologize. Everyone could see it in my expression. I wasn't joking. The realization began to dawn on them. If anyone has something to say it now. Soon enough, you won't even have the time. Although I was speaking to my allies, I was also saying it to myself. I had seen countless deaths along my journey here. The creature called human became surprisingly strong in their final moments, but they also became terrifyingly weak. The shell they had built up for themselves slowly unraveled, and truths that had been bound deep within their hearts would be exposed, just as it was for me at that moment. Even if Amelia wasn't here with us, I couldn't carry this to my grave. Erwin, Misha, listen closely. In truth, it happened just as I was about to continue. Agent. I asked, startled. Agent of the stars. A bright flash of holy light shone from somewhere. Swoosh. The silver light was both warm and majestic, shocking me still as my jaw dropped. Sven Perev has cast the rank 0 holy spell Agent of the Stars. The activation condition has been met. Goddess of the Stars, Reedlas, descends upon the world through Sven Perev's body. Chapter 805. Final Day 2. Agent of the Stars was the authority. When that Sven Perev obtained some time ago through an awakening-type event put his life on the line to help people escape a burning temple. After a few rounds of tests, I concluded that after awakening, he had obtained the perfection bonus that only saints could obtain. Not that I ever figured out what type of skill Agent of the Stars was. So then, what was its activation condition, one might ask. It was a skill I had never seen in my long days of playing this game, an authority that a goddess had personally granted him. Since the skill would no doubt be of great help in the future, I intended to figure out its activation condition by testing a lot of things in the city, but everything I tried failed. I'd even wondered if it was only possible to use within the labyrinth, so we resumed the experiment when we entered, only to come up short once again. It suddenly worked, and yet, Agent of the Stars had activated. As proof of that, Perov's entire body was glowing with a gentle silver light. Oh ho ho, it has been a while, Bjorn Yandel. What was more, although his voice remained the same, he sounded completely different from the usual Sven Perov. I never expected to see you give up. Truly, it was a surprising thing to witness. Well, all heroes have a moment where they falter. You have suffered a lot. The way he was covering his mouth with his hand, the gentle expression on his face, and the way his body moved and twisted, those small attributes subconsciously registered to me as very feminine traits. Then there was the fact that Perov was a paladin. Suddenly, it clicked. Are you Reedless? I asked hesitantly. Rather than answer me, Perov hid a smile behind his hand. Oh ho, that laughter was the answer. I didn't know what happened, but Reedless had entered Sven Perov's body. Was it an incarnation-type skill? That made it even weirder, though. Even if you advanced your character to a saint in the game and made them use incarnation, they would only be able to borrow the authority of their god and use it. A god directly descending via their apostle's body was unheard of. Still, I guess that's not important right now. Although I had many questions, I decided to focus on one above all else. Can you get us out of this situation? Could this be our salvation? At that question, Perov. No, Reedless giggled. Who knows? Who? What? Though, I suppose I wouldn't be here if I couldn't, right? Seriously. A joke now, of all times. I can't do much for you, but your circumstances aren't all that bad, she concluded, and as soon as she'd spoken the words, the 1-minute seal on Snictura ended as it let out a roar. Reedless raised her hand and let out a random hap. Then a translucent silver wall was created between us and Snictura. Boom. The snake slammed its body against the wall repeatedly, but the barrier stood strong. Having performed the miracle of trapping a rank 1 monster like it was nothing, Reedless as Sven Perov shrugged before turning back to us to give a wink. How long can you stop it? I asked. Odd. Enough to save your lives. Hyok. Snictura continued to roar in anger from beyond its trap, but I no longer paid it any attention. Somehow, something more surprising than a rank 1 monster had appeared before us, and the other members were quick to demonstrate their faith in this miracle. Are you really Lady Reedless? Are you? Oh ho. My goodness. May the blessing of the Twilight Star be with us. Meanwhile, while most were busy prostrating, there was one who showed overt hostility. It was none other than Beleg, who had finally arisen after being healed. Are you really Reedless? Once again, Reedless didn't answer him either. However, it seemed everything she had shown until now was answer enough. Without waiting for an answer, Beleg continued asking questions. Why? Why did that child need to die? Was that the fate you decided for her? Reedless once again didn't answer, instead, just looking upon him with pitying eyes. The sympathy in her gaze only fanned the flames of his anger. Answer me, he shouted. If you really are the goddess that presides over fate, answer me now. Bang. Despite Beleg's boiling rage, he was unfortunately cut short in his questions. It would have been fine, if only he had restricted his anger to shouts, but he had taken it one step too far, a physical step forward with probably intent to charge. The one who stopped him and slammed him to the ground was not me but Kylan. Don't show her any disrespect. It is only by her will that we are still alive, Kylan ordered with a harsh breath. I understand that you must have many questions. I have also lost someone precious to me. However, you know well that she's not the one you should be arguing with. Beleg remained quiet, a stark contrast to his earlier outburst. I'll take it as you understanding my words and let you go. Please do not make a mistake. Kylan then released him, but Beleg showed no signs of getting up from the floor. He just looked into the air with empty eyes. Even if she descended through Parav, a power of that level can't be maintained for long. I would be lying if I said I didn't feel any sympathy for Beleg. I myself had many questions I wanted to ask, but something else had to take priority. More likely than not, Riedlas would leave Parav's body the moment the situation was resolved. There was something I needed to check before that happened. What's the activation condition for the authority? I asked. Bjorn. How could you talk like that to Lady Riedlas? Misha admonished in a scandalized tone. What was she even talking about? I brushed it off. You don't have to worry about her, so just answer me. Do you truly wish to hear it? Riedlas questioned after a moment. It may be better that you don't. If anyone else said that to me. But this was a goddess, the goddess of fate, of all things. Even I, of all people, was forced to reconsider. Nevertheless, I eventually decided, I'll still hear it. If ignorance was bliss, that bliss was fleeting. It would only allow me a short moment of reprieve before the waves of pain inevitably washed over. If that is your decision, Riedlas then revealed, it is only possible for me to descend upon the world through this authority when Sven Parav's fate in that moment is certain death. I couldn't even laugh. For that to be the condition. That was why nothing worked, no matter what we tried in the city. Still, there was one thing I didn't understand. Why was it better for me to not know that? The moment Sven Parav learns of the condition, it will become tens of times more difficult for him to use this authority. What? I balked, startled. It is difficult to explain in detail with so little time available to us. To put it simply, the moment he learns the exact activation condition, he will become dependent on the authority. When that happened, two different fates will exist at the same time and I cannot intervene in an uncertain fate. Even when she explained it like that, I still couldn't understand. Riedlas read my expression, easily picking up on my confusion. Oh ho, that's why I told you it was difficult to explain. If you find yourself struggling to understand, just remember this, as I told you before, the moment Sven Parav learns of the activation condition, it will become tens of times more difficult for him to use it. Understood. I've memorized it. Good, good. Riedlas then sent me a consoling smile, as if from mother to child. The sentiment was there, if a bit overshadowed by the fact that she was doing all this using Sven Parav's body. More importantly, there is something I must tell you. I blinked, surprised there was more. Fate is called as such because it always arrives the same, the goddess continued. What are you trying to say? In this moment, Sven Parav has changed his fate, and with it, the fates of many others who should have died here beside him. My jaw was clenched, and, just get to the point. The fate you have avoided today will return without fail. So we've only survived today, but we'll all die in the end. Well, why do you think that you all will? You die. She gazed at me with that same smile as she said, Bjorn Yandel, even without my intervention, you wouldn't have fallen today. Even if you faltered for a time, would have regained your will and struggled until the final finale. So, what are you trying to say? That smile on Riedlas's lips fell just slightly back into something I couldn't quite name, but yet didn't speak another word aloud. 7 people. I flinched as her voice echoed in my mind. Remember this, Bjorn Yandel. In this place, 7 people have avoided their timely demise, and whether quickly or slowly, that fate will return to them. So nurture him to the best of your ability. In a way, amongst all of humankind, he is the most like me. Who knows? Maybe if he grows and grows to the point where he reaches a class of his own, he may one day be capable of changing not just his fate, but the fate of others as well. With that, Reedless spoke aloud once again. Well then, this is the end. The end. Oh ho, I will see you next time. With a sudden farewell, Parev's body collapsed to the floor. But it hasn't even been 3 minutes yet. There are 2 more minutes left until Snictura dies. Unlike before, the previously unbreakable barrier began to crack as Snictura repeatedly slammed its body against it. Boom, boom. Judging by the number of cracks, it would only survive 4 or 5 more hits before shattering completely. Yet she just leaves. Reedless definitely said that she could block the monster long enough for us to all survive, so what was this? Was she just lying? Crackle. Just as my thoughts began to take a dark turn, the speaker that should have been broken crackled back to life as the door that Arta closed opened, broadcasting a familiar voice with a bit of a mechanical artifact to it. Oh, hey, the voice cried. See, can you hear me? Owen, please get out there, quickly. Everything became clear to me in that moment as my body sagged with relief. Right, so that was what she meant to happen. I picked up the collapsed Parev, and as soon as everyone left the testing site, Snictura finally broke through the barrier and charged at us. The door just barely closed behind us, stopping it from getting to us. Boom, boom, bang. Although Snictura continuously slammed its head against the door didn't even budge, meaning I could probably relax a little. Whoa, I sure am glad I wasn't late. I quickly asked into the air, Owen, what happened? How was Owen talking through the speakers when I'd stopped him from going into the boss room with us? Did you enter the control room? I don't know what a control room is. Can you see into the testing site through the devices up there? Yes, I can see it. So he was there. Question was, how? The reason turned out to be quite simple. As you said, I was waiting up top for you to come back, but the doors around me suddenly started opening and closing rapidly. I figured something went wrong and went into one of the opened doors. Something had apparently gone wrong with the machines up top after we broke everything in the test site as well. Well, that did make sense. The command room was accessible after defeating Arta, after all. But when I entered, I could see the situation in the room where you all were. When I heard you shout to open the door, I tried all the devices and it opened the door and let me speak to you too. In other words, it was a completely unforeseen chain of events, though I couldn't exactly call it pure coincidence either. So this was always going to happen. In all likelihood, the events would have taken place even without the use of Agent of the Stars. We would have been thrust into a fierce battle, and after the 7 people that Reedless spoke of died, we would then barely escape through the door and rush out of the testing site. I couldn't help but turn my head when the wall shook with another booming blow. It also prompted Owen to speak up again. Through the speaker. It's still flailing in the room. How about we get everyone up just in case? No, it'll be fine. All right, then should I come down as well? No, stay there and wait for us. Understood. Boom, bang, boom. The door continued to reverberate with impacts from the other side for a while until, finally, the frequency between the reverberations became shorter and more distinct. Then, the impact stopped altogether. Was it finally dead? I didn't even need time to mull it over. The impact of experience gained when taking down a rank 1 monster was unmistakable. You have defeated Snictura. EXP +9. Snictura was dead. Its collapsed, Captain. Since I got the confirmation from above, I didn't need to worry any longer. Somehow, after going through all that, we were able to defeat a rank 1 monster without losing a single person. The essence I nearly asked if it dropped an essence, but I barely held back. Owen, open the door. Yeah, some things, you needed to confirm with your own eyes. Chapter 806. Final Day 3. If you looked at the difference between a rank 8 and rank 9, say, a goblin and a death fiend, the monsters were worlds apart. However, the relative gap between the two wasn't that large, not compared to the gap between a rank 2 and a rank 1, at least. Usually, 5 rank 9 adventurers could easily defeat a rank 8 monster. It was the same with 5 rank 8 adventurers and a rank 7 monster. This formula stayed true for quite a while, until around rank 3. For a rank 3 monster, at least 12 rank 4 adventurers were needed for a raid, and an entire expedition force of 30 rank 3 adventurers was needed for a rank 2 monster. So then, what about a rank 1 monster? In truth, each rank 1 monster was unique in its own way, so it was difficult to generalize. However, considering how many elite adventurers we lost during the Wolf of Prophecy, Kashan, raid at Library Island despite the hundreds of people present, it can't be standardized. I could at least be sure of that much. A rank 1 monster was on an entirely different level than rank 2. It was for that very reason that possessing a rank 1 essence made an adventurer the talk of the town. Demon Eye was a prime example of that. Whatever the case, that wasn't that important. Perhaps because of the many dents Snictura left behind in it, the door didn't open smoothly like before but instead with a wailing creak. As I looked at the widening gap of the door, my heart raced. Bah dump. Did it drop it or not? Creak. Was it all the dopamine flooding my brain? It felt like the door was opening in slow motion. Boom. When the door finally came to a stop, I got my answer through Raven's stuttering realization. That's an essence. Right. I rubbed my eyes a little before answering. Bahula. Snictura had dropped its essence. The influence of the rank 1 essence was immense. Whoa, so that's a rank 1 essence. Adness, I hope you're not thinking of pulling anything odd. Ahem, I was only expressing my amazement. Honestly, though, just the aura emanating off of it is on another level. Everyone's jaw dropped at the mysterious majesty of the essence. I didn't blame them. Even if a person had worked as an adventurer their entire life, it was rare to witness a rank 1 essence firsthand. Plus, just as someone had said, the color itself was different from a regular essence as well. Its 2 colors, floating in the air with shimmering light. Snictura's essence was made up of 2 different colors. They weren't mixed either, but instead separated in a yin-yang pattern. Ah, I have heard about this before, Raven remarked. A few rank 1 essences are said to be like this. Since it's 2 colors, does it also give 2 abilities? Yes, or so I've heard. Then that essence, who knows? Even I don't know much. Information about rank 1 essences is quite rare. Honestly, they're mostly treated like legends. Still, aren't there a few people every generation who possess one? That is true. But then it becomes a question of whether those people cooperate in research, and some things never change, no matter the era, Raven said while giving me an accusing side eye, as if she knew I had information about the essence. Well, her guess wasn't wrong. Raven, I called, take out the magic vial first. Anyway, work came first. While we still had a lot of time left, there was no need to waste it. It was also gamer instinct to go in and snatch up whatever rare things appeared, even when they didn't need to. But, oh, is that not the color you wanted? Raven asked me while taking out the magic vial. Oh, the reason I put it in the magic vial wasn't because of the color. It was a little more awkward than that. This essence is for Emily, I explained. Aha. So you're going to first take care of a woman who's not even here with us. Was that how that worked? I guess since the clan members who were present risked their lives to fight it, this could be considered a little scummy. Raven eyed my expression. I was joking. Why are you taking it so seriously? It's not that. Huh. I don't know how someone like you made an internal rule like that. The captain has the same number of votes as all the members combined, doesn't he? Sensing it would only be to my disadvantage if I continued to speak, I chose to remain silent. Raven stopped messing with me, concentrating harder than usual on storing the essence in the magic vial. It's done. Eventually, Raven handed me the magic vial containing the essence of Snictura, and our work here was done. Uawag. Hap. Just then, Parav happened to awaken from his unconscious state. He jumped up and took on a battle stance to fight whatever was near him, waking up while shouting as if he had just experienced a nightmare. It was an understandable reaction. Last thing he would remember was battling against Snictura. I'd also heard that the vanguard who fought on the front lines experienced momentary lapses in consciousness quite a bit, so things like this were common to see. However, with a quick glance around the area, he seemed to calm down, as he fell back into his regular stance while looking a little shell-shocked. This is. Did we win? Yeah, we won, I said, shrugging. So calm down. And no one died. As you can see, Parav let out a sigh of relief. Was that how I looked to the others? There was no telling, but I didn't mind either way. Collapsing with the knowledge that one's allies were safe only served to make the person look better and more trustworthy. But what happened? Parav asked. How much do you remember? Well, you told everyone to say their last words since everyone was going to die. Oh, I really lost all hope and thought I really would die this time. He trailed off, then suddenly seemed to remember something. Excitedly, he shouted, "Oh, that authority. I used the new authority I got since there was nothing else I could try. Anyway, but did it work?" I went quiet. Why aren't you saying anything? Did it work? No, it worked, right. That has to be how everyone survived. His excitement struck a chord with me, pushing me to affirm his guess. It only made my heart feel heavier. So, what was it? What was the authority's effect? Was it a defense type? Or maybe attack? Wait, did I kill Snictura in one hit? Why aren't you saying anything? Parav furrowed his brow in confusion at my silence and looked at the other members, only to find they also avoided his gaze as soon as he looked at them. Or, rather, they glanced directly at me. Hey, can you perhaps not hear me? Kylan, Ms. Maroney, Ms. Karlstein, I hissed in a breath. In the end, I needed to take charge. I did feel a little sorry for him, as it felt like we were isolating and bullying him, but it couldn't be helped. The goddess herself descended to give us this warning. Sven Parav could never know about his authority. Authority? What are you talking about? He blinked. Nothing happened. Even though I was sorry, this was the right choice. Even though I was sorry, this was the right choice. We left the testing site, climbed up the ladder, and entered the bunker area we were initially at, where we were greeted by Aoin running to meet us. Captain, thank goodness, you're safe. Thanks. You really helped us out this time. Not at all. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time. I didn't really do much. Don't say that, I pushed back. Making sure to convey my genuine appreciation, I said, everyone survived, thanks to you. My compliment prompted Parav to ask, we all survived, thanks to Rockrope. What do you mean? Didn't we work together to kill Snictura? Wait, why are you going silent again? Parav seemed confused once again as the room dropped into a chilling silence. Really, he should know when to ask which question. Thankfully, I didn't need to navigate around his question this time since someone spoke to us at the perfect time. I was watching everything. You've accomplished the deed tasked to you, warriors of the Empire. The voice of Arda, the master of the secret base, echoed through the speakers. couldn't help but feel baffled. They spoke with a congratulatory tone, but I still remembered their gripes about how selfish we were as Imperials. They also said something I couldn't ignore. I was wondering what would happen when you suddenly began to destroy the testing site, but my decision was correct in the end. Correct, I asked back in the ancient language. See, what would have happened if I opened the door? This world would never have received its salvation. Damn, did it actually just say that? I had a lot I wanted to say, but somehow, arguing with an AI felt counterproductive, so I just bit my tongue. I was planning on getting only what I wanted from this thing and leaving anyway. Thanks to you, we have taken one more step toward salvation. If you lend me just a bit more of your help, we can stop the end of the world. Of course, the destroyed testing site will need to be restored before that. Restoring the testing site. This wasn't in the game at all. I guess we did destroy the testing site before it was supposed to go, though. So, I prompted. Warriors of the destroyed empire, I only wish to request one more thing from you. Tell me. To be honest, I didn't actually need to hear what it said. Although the story's starting point and progression had changed a little, its core was the same. In summary, Arda would help us, so we needed to get to the island that was the origin of the end, defeat the boss there, and return with what it dropped. When the explanation had finished, I said, "Sure, we'll do that. I knew that would be your answer. The hope of humanity." At some point, we were promoted from warriors of the empire to the hope of humanity, but I didn't care that much. After all, Arda said something much more deserving of my attention. Oh, and one of the humans I observed at the origin of the end not long ago had a similar insignia to yours. You mean this? When I showed Arda the insignia of the Anabata clan, Arda confirmed, "That's right. It's that symbol." Was it a woman with red hair? That's right. Is she your ally? Yes, she is. However, Arda's response wasn't what I expected. Then you must hurry. That woman, she will die soon. 1. At some point, we were promoted from warriors of the empire to the hope of humanity, but I didn't care that much. After all, Arda said something much more deserving of my attention. Oh, and one of the humans I observed at the origin of the end not long ago had a similar insignia to yours. You mean this? When I showed Arda the insignia of the Anabata clan, Arda confirmed, "That's right. It's that symbol." Was it a woman with red hair? That's right. Is she your ally? Yes, she is. However, Arda's response wasn't what I expected. Then you must hurry. That woman, she will die soon. I received a sudden quest. Chapter 807. Final Day 4. Amelia had told me she would stay back to observe the group on Skull Island. So what was she doing here? There was no way to confirm it, but I could at least make an educated guess. Amelia went to keep an eye on the Golden Tree clan, so if she's here, that must mean there was a very good chance they were here with us as well. Amelia wouldn't have come here for no reason. Did you perhaps see anyone other than my ally? I asked, rolling with the guess. However, my question was met with an answer that I didn't expect from Arda. Number 1 in particular. I have only confirmed that one woman. I paused. Just her. Is there a problem? I will ask this, though. Why do you think she will die soon? I don't know if she is lost, but that woman has already entered the territory of the beast. I wouldn't be surprised if she were to encounter it at any moment. The memories of the end that we found ourselves in was a hidden field similar to the labyrinth of Larkaz that I had visited before, and this so-called beast could be considered its boss. And Arda was telling me she was inside its territory. Damn it, we didn't have any time. None whatsoever. Arda, is there anything else I should know? As I told you before, to defeat the beast, you must keep my words in mind. So there's nothing. Understood. I'll see you later. Since I didn't need to hear the details of the strategy from Arda, I cut the conversation off there, then quickly summoned my members before leaving the artist's secret base. You understand without me having to tell you, right? Yes. We will get there post-haste, Captain. With All-In's trustworthy confirmation, the boat cleaved through the waves. Splash. We were moving faster than when we first came to this place. While part of it was thanks to the mana stones we were pouring into the propulsion system without holding back, they weren't the only thing contributing to our speed. All-In Rockrobe has cast Fair Winds. All-In Rockrobe has cast Trade Route. All-In Rockrobe has cast Ghost Ship. The other members stirred anxiously as we watched All-In use all the abilities in his possession. Navigator lad, are you sure you're okay with this? I understand that we're in a hurry, but haste does make waste. You may collapse if you go all out from the beginning. I could tell they weren't just saying it out of sympathy for the amount of work he was putting in. We were all logical adventurers. If he ran out of mana in the middle of the journey and his skill turned off, we could arrive at our destination later than intended. As the representative of the rest, I stepped up to question, All-In, will you be all right? I needed to think about the return trip when we were coming here, but that's not the case anymore, right? Just as we were experts in fighting monsters, he was an expert in navigation. I just needed to trust him. Understood, I said. Splash. And so, we sailed for the island that couldn't even be seen from the helm yet. Sometime later, though, the 10-hour timer that I set when coming to the artist's secret base rang. I thought I'd given myself plenty of time to plan around unexpected variables, that maybe I'd even be able to relax a little on the return trip. No one could know the future, and the Snictura raid ended in a completely different way than I had initially planned for as well. Now, there was nothing I could do except wait for the boat to reach our destination. Even so, as I looked at the horizon, I couldn't help but get lost in the possibilities. Don't worry so much, she'll be fine. Yes, that's right, mister. It'll be okay. My allies eyed my clenched fists and jaw. They must have assumed I was worried for Amelia, which I was, but she wasn't the sole reason for my concern. The event we experienced not long ago continued to haunt me. We were in big trouble this time, but everyone survived in the end, right? So don't let it get to you, Erwin consoled. Despite her intentions, her words instead became needles that pierced my heart. We had nearly all been wiped out just a few hours ago. No, we were wiped out once. All of us. I hadn't been able to find a way out of our predicament, and after accepting my fate, I'd prepared my final words for the first time since becoming a barbarian. Of course, we managed to defeat the rank 1 monster and obtain its essence, but it's not because I did anything right. We survived because we got lucky. To be honest, I wasn't even thinking about Agent of the Stars. This all happened because of my bad decisions. As I looked back on our previous battle, I knew there was a way we could have avoided a total wipe. If I'd just given up on Beleg, the raid would have progressed as planned. However, I wasn't able to do that. I allowed optimism to rule and hoped that everything would be fine if I just sacrificed myself a little bit more. The result of that arrogance and stubbornness was the ending we got. Of course, things worked out in the end. But how much longer could I keep relying on good luck like that? Did it even make sense for a person like me to rely on luck, to be at ease and relieved in the first place? No, this was the only lucky encounter I would get. A second chance would never come. If a similar situation ever arose again, I would meet my fatal ending. The more I thought about it, the more certain I became. Bang! Something was wrong with my head. Seriously wrong. Silence fell over everyone on the deck. Possibly because I had suddenly slammed my head into the railing at the head of the ship. After belatedly noticing everyone had gone quiet, I looked around, only to see the clan members all turn their heads away. Whenever I met eyes with them, ahem, I should take care of the equipment. Where is that? I sighed. I'd messed up again. Problem. With my head or not, a leader shouldn't be making their personal problems the problems of the clan. And I'm not the only one having a hard time. Being an adventurer didn't mean you were immune to stress. While towing the line between life and death was a risk that simply came with the job, adventurers were bound to experience an immense amount of stress. It was also one of the reasons there were so many adventurers with personality disorders. In any case, everyone had just escaped from a near-death situation, so they would be exhausted and grumpy, yet I put them on edge with my tantrum. Sorry, everyone, I just wanted to slam my head for a second. I shouted as a joke with some brutal honesty baked in. Thankfully, that lightened the tension in the air slightly. Really? Why yeah, right. Everyone feels that way, sometimes. Right. That's right. Although the reactions were a little awkward, it was better than silence. Plus, my efforts seemed to bear some fruit. Even Raven, who had been avoiding me due to my foul mood, approached me. It feels like you're ready to talk now. I sent her a look. Do you have something say to me? Too. It's about Snictura's essence. Oh, that. I thought she was coming over to console me. Still, getting treated normally was better in this situation, right? So what ability is it? I've been on the edge of my seat with curiosity, she began. Is it the color you wanted? Half of it. Then one of the colors matched what you wanted. That's right. Okay. But why are you answering me like that? You obviously know what I'm asking. Can't you just tell me? We can do that later. What do you mean, later? This is the worst habit an adventurer could have. What if you die later? If you do, I'll get so mad that I won't be able to go through mana decomposition. Mana what? I couldn't help but tilt my head at the odd word. Raven avoided my eyes as she explained. Right. Well, it's a wizard thing. They believe that when we die, we won't go into the embrace of the goddess, but dissolve into mana particles. Oh, so something like what the atheists believed back in my world. In certain ways, I agreed with them. The afterlife didn't exist, and when we died, we just returned to nature as particles and molecules. Of course, I hoped I was wrong. Could rest in peace after I died, then I could. If the afterlife did exist as a place where I meet with people again and talk about the past at least one more time. Hello. Oh, yeah, I was in the middle of a conversation. Really? Are you not going to tell me? Raven whined. No, I was just about to tell you. What was the question about again? Snictura's essence. Right. I couldn't think properly. Maybe it was that same problem in my head. I just decided to info dump the article that I read before this out of my mind. Snictura's essence comes with two passive abilities. One is 10,000 poison body, and the other is flash before death. I rattled on about the effects of the passive skills and the active skills as Raven went from looking very interested at first to frowning a little. No, so which color did you want? So that was the question. I didn't really want a specific color. What? The most important part of this essence is flash before death, the passive ability. What? Not 10,000 poison body. Well, that was really good as well but not better than the first, given the core essence of Amelia's build, self-replication. That core was the very reason I had her eat the Twin Hydra's essence for dual control to increase her control over her clone, along with the Cyclops' wave connection to increase the effectiveness of the clone to be comparable to her main body. Flash before death, that's the skill it used right at the end, right? The one that activated right before it died. Raven mumbled to herself. Then, something seemed to click in her mind. Excitedly, she exclaimed, oh, so that's why. If you use it on the clone, it removes the downside of not being able to turn it off willingly after it activates. Yeah, that's right. Of course, You couldn't move for a minute after the skill activated, but after that, the clone would be upgraded to a powerful weapon that outclassed even the main body. If I feed her this essence and help with her loadout a little bit, she'll become the first to be eligible to challenge the 10th floor. So, what's the activated ability of this essence? Oh, that, well, one of them was shapeshift. Oh, isn't that really good? When Snicktura used it, it could change into other monsters freely and use their unique skills, but the skill is different in essence form. How different? You can only change into the last monster you defeated, and even after you change, your physical abilities don't change with it. Oh, I see. Despite her obvious disappointment, there were more uses to the skill. It was still a rank 1 essence, after all. It was only natural for it to have more uses, but I figured I only needed to tell Amelia about the tricks, so I omitted them. Then what's the other one? I hesitated. It's final day. What? There's an ability like that? There is. Raven studied my expression with suspicion. Why did you make that face? It's a little awkward to explain. Although I'd said anything would be fine. This was the one exception. Even Seed of Destruction would have been better. What's awkward about it? Is it bad? I mean, I can't exactly call it bad either. Objectively speaking, it's good, I hedged. But many different conditions need to be met to use it. Oh, now that I think about it, I don't think it used the skill once that entire battle either. What ability is it? I then took quite a while explaining to her the effect and conditions of the skill, and that seemed to have sated her curiosity as Raven left. What's awkward about it? Is it bad? I mean, I can't exactly call it bad either. Objectively speaking, it's good, I hedged. But many different conditions need to be met to use it. Oh, now that I think about it, I don't think it used the skill once that entire battle either. What ability is it? I then took quite a while explaining to her the effect and conditions of the skill, and that seemed to have sated her curiosity as Raven left. I finally had some time alone, and only then did I remember. Oh, wait, it wasn't the time for me to worry about the essence of others. Omens of corruption. I got hit by that, right? Chapter 808. Final Day 5. When hit by the special skill Omens of corruption, the ability of one of the target's essences could be twisted in odd ways. In my case, the ability that got hit was Bane's Transcendence. At least Storm Gush didn't get hit. Despite avoiding the worst-case scenario, I couldn't fully relax. Transcendence was a core combo skill that boosted not just Jauntization, but many of my other essences. Even if it wasn't as important as Jauntization, it didn't change the fact that the essence did earn its place in the final build of the Shield Barbarian. I wonder how it changed. The thought that it had morphed in some weird way and that I'd become a trash character was seriously starting to mess with me. Still, I couldn't check it right then, no matter how much I wanted to. After getting hit by the skill, the corrupted skill couldn't be used for 180 days. Since this is the 33rd day of the expedition, even if we return to the city on day 75 as planned, that would only be 42 days. Then 30 more days in the city. Even if I get 75 days in on the next expedition, I'll still have 33 days left. So the earliest I could finally use Transcendence and see what changed about it would be during the expedition. After the next Captain, we can see the island. Just then, we finally reached the point where our destination was in sight, interrupting my contemplation where I stood on the deck. The island looked otherworldly with the sky above it dyed red, the lava flowing into the ocean and hardening into rock, and the dark red smoke covering the entire island. We're disembarking. From getting on the ship to arriving on the island, we took around 3 hours and 50 minutes. Overall, we'd saved around 50 minutes compared to our first journey heading to the secret base. Good work, Aoyan. Quote, thank you. After having used his abilities the entire journey, Aoyan wasn't looking good. He was hunched and staggering like he would enter soul exhaustion if he used just a few more abilities. You can rest easy now. Pardon, Einar, I shouted in response. I wouldn't need many words for this. As soon as I called for Einar, she came over and understood what I wanted from her. Got it. I can just carry him, right? Pardon. I'm fine. Haha. Don't worry about it. I'm used to carrying others. Alright. That solved Aoyan's movement problem. Plus, since Orb of Fire had been kept on from the moment I first arrived on the island, I didn't need to turn it back on again. We'll now move as quickly as possible, I ordered. With the clan members having rested enough during the 4-hour-long sailing trip, we were able to run across the island. Our destination was the island's center, where Amelia was last spotted. However, as we continued to search the surrounding area, Amelia wasn't the only person in danger of dying. Status effect Eternal Burning is applied. You will periodically take fire damage, and the fire damage will increase as time passes. The damage from the field effect wasn't that high yet, so I could ignore it. Time until death: 5 hours 50 minutes and 17 seconds. Even so, there were less than 6 hours until Terminus's effect applied, so we needed to move quickly if we wanted to reset everyone's time. Raven, Maroni, from now on, apply distortion magic on all monsters we fight. We hunted monsters in our own way while applying distortion magic to them, moving forward in a breakthrough formation. While the monsters wouldn't drop any essences, there was a chance they would leave behind their corpse for us to harvest. Look, it worked. Rather than disappear into a puff of light, the defeated monster collapsed onto the ground with a thud, a clear signal that the distortion magic had worked. Soon enough, though, the corpse was swept up in flames and turned to ash, and then, vwong, a red mirage floated from it into the air. Something like an essence appeared. It means it worked, I explained. Its name within the game was Original Sin. I had no idea why it was named as such, but it had 2 effects when consumed. You have consumed Original Sin. Fire resistance is permanently increased by +1. Status effect Terminus is reset. You will die in 24 hours. Fire resistance was increased by +1, and the Terminus granted by the field effect was reset to give us an extra day of life. Also, the fire resistance increase was only applied on the first consumption, but that wasn't the important thing here. Since we didn't have an icon to hover that told us our remaining time, I intended to have everyone reset their timers whenever they got fed Original Sin, one by one. It feels weird, Maroni murmured. Looking at this and knowing that this is the time we have left. Isn't that right, Mr. Parav? Haha. Yes, that's true. €. How great would it be if we could see it like this in real life as well? Parav flinched. Pardon, our remaining time. I just wondered how great it would be if we could always see our remaining time. I mean, didn't you feel it before as well? When I thought that everything was going to come to an end in a minute, was so shaken. There were so many things I hadn't been able to do yet. Too, it would be nice if this world was like that. If you could know how much time you had left, you could say everything you wanted to say, not do. Haha, I'm just saying. As an example, even while all this was happening, Maroni and Parav were flirting with each other. And Parav did volunteer to carry Maroni when we were talking about moving around. Do these two also have a thing going on? There was no telling, but honestly, I figured I would just let them be. Before, I absolutely would have been wary of feelings and relationships like this blossoming within the party. Emotions could lead to unexpected variables, after all. However, recently, I had changed my mind. You might not have a second chance. Erwin hummed in question. Did you just say something, mister? Just talking to myself. After pushing away her question, I turned my attention back to Maroni and Perev. I had no idea what their relationship would become, but I didn't want to interfere in it at all. It would either work out or it wouldn't. I just hoped they wouldn't have any regrets. With that, I redirected my focus back to the mission and headed toward the center of the island. Einar Fenelon has consumed original sin. Fire resistance is permanently increased by +1. Then, around the time we obtained 4 original sins to reset the timer on Terminus, I suddenly heard a voice that captured my attention. I finally found you. Huh, that voice was definitely Emily. Amelia appeared with a sly grin. What? You look like you've seen a ghost. I was caught off guard. Just as she said, it felt like I was encountering an apparition or something. To be honest, I didn't expect to find her so quickly. Wait, I guess she found us. I had no idea that Amelia was looking for us. If Arta hadn't told us, I would have had no idea that she was even on the island in the first place. What happened? I asked. Why are you here? Something happened outside. Is it the Golden Tree clan? No, nothing related to them. What? Nothing. Those guys left the island immediately after they realized we caught their spy. I waited just in case they returned, but I saw nothing until I came here. Every theory of mine had missed the mark. Then, I just assumed she must have come because of them. If it's not because of them, why are you here? At my question, Amelia gave an answer that I would have never expected. The Lord of the 6th floor has been summoned. What? Although the news was quite surprising to hear, it also explained everything else. So the moment you realized the Lord of the floor was summoned, you came here for refuge. I summarized once she finished explaining. Yeah, I'd be in big trouble if I got involved with that. And when I calculated the time, it was around the time you guys should be returning. I nodded reflexively at her reasoning. Really, she was a dependable person. She was always on the ball with her decision-making skills. Good work. Most lords of the floors affected the entire floor. A prime example was the 3rd floor's Riakus. As soon as he appeared, all floor portals were closed off and the entire floor was transformed. That was what happened with the Lord of the 6th floor as well. Although the portals weren't blocked off, as soon as the Lord was summoned, anyone on the floor could become a target of this thing that could appear anywhere in the infinite ocean. Well, to be precise, it was when that thing used a specific skill, but anyway. I was planning on just leaving in case of an emergency, but that plan's not going to work. Although one of our options had disappeared, the current situation was honestly better for us. We had come into a sort of shelter without realizing it. If we hadn't been here, we definitely would have gotten swept up in the shenanigans caused by the Lord of the Floor. Well, either way, I'm glad you're okay, I concluded. Let's talk after we get out of here. Why out of here? We can encounter something troublesome if we stay here, though we do eventually want to defeat that guy. But let's prepare first. Ah, I see. Understood. After reuniting with Amelia, we got as far away from the center of the island as we could before continuing our conversation. She spoke up first. Did you get what you came here for? I was worried that something might go wrong because I wasn't with you. Well, did something happen? It did, but it worked out in the end. Oh, and we got the essence too. The rank 1 essence. That's impressive. I don't know who'll be getting it, but the rumor mills back in the city won't get enough of it when word gets out Euro. No, that won't be happening. Amelia sent me a confused look as I cut her off. With a shrug and a grin, I explained, "You hate being famous." She arched a brow, clearly wondering what I was talking about, until her eyes went wide in realization. Someone let out a drawn-out whistle. It was Kylan. "I'm so jealous," Raven grumbled. "You have a man who's willing to gift you a rank 1 essence. Why don't I have a man like that, Ms. Raven? I thought you couldn't use essences because you're a wizard," Maroni asked. "But I like researching essences." Erwin scoffed. "A rank 1 essence is nothing. I got gifted a floor essence by Mr. O.S.R. Really? Both of those sound nice," Misha said meekly. Well, the actual gossip ended up starting here with all the whistling and chattering. But Amelia didn't seem to pay them any mind. She just looked directly at me and said, "Thanks, I'll make good use of it. Just 7 little words a euro," a reply that was short and stern. However, I sensed there was a weight to her words somehow. That brief reply felt more genuine to me than 100 words ever could. Of course, that stone-facedness didn't last long, although she seemed emotionless at first glance. When you got to know her, she had a childish side she couldn't hide. "Then what ability does this essence have?" she asked, unable to hold back. "And how do they interact with the ones I already have?" "Oh, you can ask Raven about that." Raven flinched. Me, I'm sure that you've already compiled all the information required. €1. I mean, that is true. Fine. Here. Amelia took the skill document from Raven, then asked me for a few pieces of advice after internalizing the information. "But what's this? The name sounds pretty cool." "Oh ho. Final day, is it?" I had no clue what was so cool about it, but I could at least tell her, "Oh, you don't have to worry about that for now. With all the conditions it needs to activate it, you might not even use it your lifetime." "Really? Well, looking at the conditions here, it'll be difficult to use it if you don't prepare for it." "Yeah. So €1. Final day. Really?" That curiosity of hers. She was never satisfied until she tested these things at least once. But even if she cast it, there was no way it would go through. Flash. Or at least, it shouldn't have. What? Boom. Bjorn. Over there. Look at the sky. Why were there meteorites falling from the sky? Bong. Although I had no idea, I became sure of one thing when I looked at Amelia's obviously startled expression. "Did I make a mistake?" she asked, sheepishly. Flash. Or at least, it shouldn't have. What? Boom. Bjorn. Over there. Look at the sky. Why were there meteorites falling from the sky? Bong. Although I had no idea, I became sure of one thing when I looked at Amelia's obviously startled expression. "Did I make a mistake?" she asked, sheepishly. Things had gotten out of hand. Amelia Rainwales has cast Final Day. For the next 24 hours, random attacks will fall within an area of 6 miles.